Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the TCAC Le Mans Retro run by Australasian Sim Racing. Tonight, it is just me, it's just Michael Zalavari running the stream tonight, and we are at the circuit of... oh, hang on, I've lost all my bits and pieces here. There we go. We're at the Grand Premio de Macau on the Julia circuit tonight. For a sprint race for tonight's proceedings. So a 10-minute qualifying session followed by two 20-minute races. We've got a bit of fun features in the middle as well. Just to recap on where we are in the point standings after last fortnight's round at Monza. In Class A, it was Steve Bulger who took another convincing victory at Monza in the Porsche 917L to lead the championship on 50 points ahead of Cracker and the other Porsche. Also ahead of Luke Rosella, Glenn Miles, Nathan Higginson and Urjit Mishra. In Class B, it was a grandstand finish with Turmo taking the victory at Monza ahead of Will Devonish, and then Matt Cecil, Lachlan Bork, Luke Joyner and Brock Harvey. I knew I was going to do it. It's Lachlan Burke, not Lachlan Bork, but here we are. So that puts Turmo on top of the standings. And then in Class C, it's Benjamin Rhodes leading after a stellar victory at Monza ahead of Mike Coulston and Cam Rutledge. Remember, those who have won races in the past do have weight added to their vehicles, so we will see over the course of the season a few of these championships get mighty close as the weight starts to pay the price later on in the season. Tonight, though, we are at Macau, and it is one of the most iconic circuits of motorsport, one of the most iconic street circuits of motorsport, especially in Asia. This quite a long circuit, actually. It's in the realms of 6 or 7 kilometers, sweeping through the Riviera of Macau and through the steep cliffs of this principality of the city. 6.15 kilometers, 24 turns, and there's plenty going on, so we should see a lot of action. I've already heard from some of the drivers that they absolutely hate this track, and I've also heard from some of the drivers that they absolutely love it. So a wide variety of opinions so far, but there is certainly plenty to play for. We'll just jump in on a little bit of practice action now, and here we are on the main straight. It seems to be that there is a non-zero chance of one of the Class B cars, particularly Will Devonish, taking a victory here, as I'll just bring in the track sounds as well. There is Will Devonish, it looks like, just about to cross the line. So what we'll do is we'll jump on with him as someone goes off in the background. There we are, Will Devonish. And he will take us on a quick lap of the Macau circuit. We've just come through Reservoir, the first corner on the track. And this is the fast part of the track, the long straights that are at the bottom of the hill. Through Hotel Mandarin. A nice little tap on the wall there. You don't want to tap that wall too hard, otherwise you end up on your lid like Lawrence Vantor from 2016, I believe it was. And then possibly the best passing opportunity on the track, Hotel Lisboa. Devonish goes deep into the goal there, taking the outside road. And then here's where the track starts to get very tight and very close. Up the run through San Francisco Hill, taking in that steep elevation. Over towards the wall, and then for the first proper tight corner here at Maternity, just across the wall. And he's second down, most likely due to those little tags on the wall at Lisboa and at Mandarin. Sweeping across the road, the retaining wall there, and then through the S's. This is the technical part of the track. You won't see too much passing here. I hope, because if you do see passing here, something's gone terribly wrong as Devonish heads through Pale, and then starts to descend towards some of the tightest parts of the track. Through Police. Very difficult off-camber corner there. Very easy to make a mistake on exit. And then through Moorish. 90-degree right-hander. And then through Donna Maria, this tricky double apex left-hander. Another tag of the wall there for Will. And then into the famous Melco corner. Very wide, a bit of more room on entry than you would see on the normal track. And then we run out Melco through Black Sands. And then another good passing opportunity here at Fisherman's down at the very bottom of the hill. As the game decides to have a little bit of a freeze, but we're back now. And then literally in front of the water, just like Monaco, as we come into the final corner at R. And that is a lap of the Macau circuit. So Devonish is one of the pace setters here. It is really a battle between himself and Steve Bulger at the moment. He's only half a second away from his PB on that lap. But we're just working out some sound dramas. Unfortunately, I can't turn my mic up anymore. I'll just have to get closer to it. This is the reality of my hodgepodge stream setup that I'm very confident in using. Much more confident doing podcasts than I am doing the broadcast, but we'll see how we go. Here's third place on track, Lachlan Burke. A few seconds down on the pace, but still, as a Class B car, doing quite a good job to be in the mix with the Class A machines. A whole 44 thousandths of a second ahead of Turmo. So that'll be a good battle to watch throughout the race. And at the moment, he's got the Lola of, I think that's Brian Walsh just ahead of him, or it might be Manuel Centino. We'll have to have a quick check. And then as well, it looks like one of the Matras. Oh, as they all make contact with the wall there, and the Lola's around. We'll see who we can find who that is. And that was, I think that was Brian Walsh. So, oh no, he's still out on track. So it was Nathan Higginson. There we are. So Higo struggling a little bit in the Class A car. The Class A cars are going to have a lot more power than they probably can deal with. And there's Scott Morrell in the Matra, who was at the head of that train, who started that all off. He's just coming out into Melco now. Beautiful looking car, the Matra, as he just tags the wall on the outside. The Class C cars should be fairly nimble here and should do quite well. Maybe even getting into the mix with the Class B cars. Power is almost going to be a disadvantage here through some of the tighter stuff, especially through Police, Moorish, and Donna Maria. And of course Melco. But there is no replacement for displacement at the bottom of the hill here. So where you need the power most to make those positions, the Class A cars are going to have an advantage. It's a matter of whether or not they can keep it together over the slower stuff that will determine their results. We'll see who else is out on track as Morrow comes to a stop just in front of the line. We are very close to the end of practice, and Morrow actually gives it away, so we'll leave Morrow there. We've also got Mike Coulston in the server. Good to see the Saudi Camel back in the... testing myself here. He's in the Chevron, I believe. It's going to be very difficult to keep track of where everyone is. Of course, 3 classes. If you haven't joined us before, 3 classes. Class A featuring the Porsche 917L, the Lola T70 Mark II, and the Ferrari 512. No biters with the Ferrari at the moment. And it looks like they've just gone into a driver's briefing. So we'll step away from that and just head back to our holding screen. Class B features the Ford GT Mark I. The Ford GT40 Mark I, so that's why it's in Class B, and we'll hear a little bit more about the Ford GT40 tonight. Also features the Alfa Romeo 330, the 33/3, and the Ferrari 312 and the Porsche 908. It doesn't seem that there are any of the Porsches or any of the Alphas joining us tonight, which is unfortunate. Although I think Manuel Centino might be in a Porsche. Not sure if he's in the Class B or the Class C Porsche. I'll just double check that one super duper quickly for you. And then Class C is the Chevron. and as well as the Porsche 906 and the Matra Simcar 650S. So Manuel Centino is in a Class C Porsche, is the answer to that one. If you're having difficulty determining the classes, we'll get a better view when they're on track, but I'll just tell you now. The Class C cars, as Mike Coulston's demonstrating for us on screen, have the green headlights and the green number panels. So you'll see as Coulston comes through Lisboa, there's a green C just on his car. They are yellow for Class B machines, so yellow crossed headlights and a yellow marking on them. And for Class A, they are blue. The cars are running a similar physics engine, just with a little more horsepower. I think it's 130 horsepower for the Class A, Class B cars, 150 for the Class A, and 110 for Class C. I'm not 100% sure on those numbers, so don't get angry at me in the chat if I've got that wrong. But that might not sound like much of a difference, but in these cars, which are midgets, that weigh somewhere in the realms of 500 kilos, that is quite a substantial difference. Oh, I just realized we can't see Mike Coulston on screen because we were looking at our holding screen. There's Mike in the Saudi Camel. A beautiful looking machine, patented by Benjamin Rhodes. So well done on putting that one together, Rhodey. So as I made mention, the headlights crossed out. We'll see on the next shot. So green for Class C, yellow for Class B, and Class A will have blue. Just as the session comes to an end and Mike finishes off his lap, there is a few things to cover off from the Monza round. A few penalties. We saw a few incidents, particularly around Lloyd Kastner, who was actually Lewis Wedding, of course. We have one or two little penalties to take into account. So Glenn Miles, who looks like he isn't joining us tonight, he has a qualifying ban, so we'll keep track of when he comes to take that. There is a qualifying ban for Luke Rosella as well. He's not here either, so he will have that for the next time he's out and racing. And a qualifying ban as well for Lewis Wedding when he joins back in. Unfortunate for him, he was in the wars. He was involved in 4 incidents for his debut in Class C machinery. And also Mike Coulston as well will have a qualifying ban. So we're going to have only like half the field with qualifying bans by the time we get later on to the later rounds of the season. Of course, it is a 10-round season. We're currently at round 3. This is the second of the sprint rounds, featuring a 15-minute qualifying session because the track is so long. So we'll run for an extra 5 minutes. And then 2 20-minute races with I believe it's a progressive grid. I'm struggling to remember. It has been a little while since our last sprint race. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if it was a random grid, because that is something that they like to do in TCAC. So our cars are now on track for qualifying, and here we are. There's Cam Rutledge in the EMA sided car, the Cam Rutledge Engineering Matra. And just ahead of him, you can see a few of the 4 GTs. We'll see if we can catch up with that. There's Matt Cecil in the black example, and Lachlan Burke in the white example. So look for Burke to be strong. He was one of the quicker ones in practice. You can see there the yellow B on the side of the car. And in fact, that's Burke trying to make a move on Higginson coming up through San Francisco Hill. That is ambitious. We'll say that much. So we'll make reference to the 3 timing sectors as everyone hits the wall at the S's, at Teddy Yip. We'll make reference to the 3 timing sectors. The first sector mark ends just at the entry to maternity. So the right-hander coming up the hill. The second sector ends just before the entry to Donna Maria. So we'll get there fairly shortly. They're just going through whereabouts is that on the track now? It's a bit of a struggle. So here is police, and then we'll just come through to Moorish, this tight right-hander. Higginson's almost getting pushed through Moorish here, and that split in the road, that is the second sector marker. And then the final sector will run through Donna Maria, through Melco, and then the run through Black Sands Fisherman's, and then back to the start-finish lane. Higginson's got a little bit of a train here. He is the leading car out on circuit, so he'll be the first one to get the opportunity to set a lap time, provided he can get around Melco, which he does. And let's see how much that that big engine in the Lola T70 can build a gap as he comes through Black Sands and into Fisherman's. Nicely through Fisherman's. Not quite using all the road, not like Lachlan Burke behind him, who does use a little too much of the road. And through R and onto the main straight. These cars will hit around 230 kilometers in a straight line. Not quite as impressive as their full-size counterparts, but the slipstream is super effective, as we saw at Monza. A few slipstream battles going absolutely to the wire. So Higginson is the first one to start his lap as they come through Reservoir. A little bit of a gap over Lachlan Burke and that looks like Rhodey in the number 661 Matra. Bit wide through Mandarin and makes contact with the outside wall. Rhodey was very nice through Mandarin there. And then coming now into Hotel Lisboa. Very difficult braking zone here. You're going from VMAX down to one of the slowest corners on the track. Higginson does well, not quite where Burke wanted to be. Oh, but a little bit of a wide moment coming up San Francisco Hill. And we should see a first timing sector just coming through across the wall now. And he makes contact with the wall there. It's 52.7 for Higo, and he's thrown it away a little bit there. Almost cleans up Burke. So we'll jump on with Burke now, as we can find him. There he is. So a 52.7 we saw for Higginson. We saw a 52.1 for Burke. So he really put the pedal to the metal coming up San Francisco Hill. Now through the S's, winding their way through the concrete walls. And into this difficult one at Payol, which Higginson demonstrates how difficult it is by going off. So Higginson looks like he's jumped out of the way there and is going to let whoever's in the Matra through as Burke makes contact with the outside wall at Police. You're going to be hearing a lot of that tonight. I feel like a lot of people are going to be making contact. Does very nicely through Moorish. About to hit the second sector and it's a 144.8. A bit further down, we have Steve Bulger currently the fastest to the first sector as he's got a 49.8 to the first sector. So definitely using the Porsche's power in a straight line. As Bork just made a little bit of an error there. So he's dropped away. We'll see who else we can jump on with. That's Scott Morrow now. In the Class C machine. He was... whereabouts is Scott Morrow? He picked up a track cut, so this lap won't count for him anyway. So it will be Nathan Higginson who will set the first lap of the field. And Steve Bulger is still going quicker further back, a 51.8 to the second sector, so he's absolutely got the pedal down. In fact, we might leave this group, and we'll see if we can find Steve out on track. And here he is in the Tic Tac 917. He's on his way through Fisherman's. Very nicely done. A little bit of power oversteer, but not anything to be worried about as he comes through towards the final straight. Higginson sets a 250, immediately eclipsed by both Lachlan Burke and Scott Morrow of 249 flat, the time to beat. A little wide through R there for Bulger, and he comes straight to the line. And Will Devenish sets the benchmark, a 242.6, and Bulger goes quicker, a 241.1. So Bulger is the benchmark at the minute. And by some way, Bulger and Devenish have quite a margin over the rest of the field. And it would be something special to get up on terms with them. Speaking of getting on terms, I am going to quickly see if I can find Term O. He has gone straight back into the pits, so no lap for him. Or Matt Cecil. Just caught him coming out of R, getting all crossed up on his first lap. He'll slot in at the rear of the field for now. Already almost halfway through the session. It's a very quick one. Especially when the lap time is almost close to 3 minutes. So most people on their second laps now. So we'll see if we can find... this is Cracker. He's on his first lap in the Class A 917. Beautiful John Player special reference in that livery. And Will Devonish is a PB to Sector 1. So we'll see if we can find Will, actually. And see if we can... oh, he was green to Sector 1, and then he's come back into the pits. So ignore that. Looks like both him and Steve Bulger have gone on to put new tyres. Let's see who we can find around a lap at the moment. We're here with Scott Morrell. He's currently in 3rd place, which is a pretty decent result if it stands for the Class C machine. He's got Lachlan Burke just ahead of him. So once again, it's not showing any lap time for Scott Morrell on our live timing screen, but he does seem to be getting sector splits. It's a bit of a weird one. He seems to... It says that he's improving on this lap, but again, on our timing screens it doesn't, so we'll just see how that plays out. He's got the advantage here of the slipstream of Lachlan Burke as they come through Fisherman's. A little bit of a lock-up for Burke. He's run super wide. Not as wide as Morrow, though, as he made contact with the wall. And we'll see how these two, whether or not they can improve their times and improve their positions as they come through our last corner on the track. Didn't quite get the entry right for Morrow, so he's going to be struggling to the line. He's going to lose a little bit of time. Burke goes quicker and Morrow improves, but not enough to eclipse Burke. Burke actually did very well, a 146 for Burke. And Morrow's in the pit, so he'll chuck on another set of tyres and he will go again. We've got Cam Rutledge coming up to the line. This doesn't look like the best of laps for him. A 52 flat, so not quite where he wants to be at the minute. Matt Cecil should be coming across the line next. He's got room for improvement. Just coming through Fisherman's. A very narrow line on the exit of Fisherman's. And through R, the final corner. Does very nicely there. And he's going to come and cross the line. And not quite a PB. That's a surprise. I thought his last sector looked very, very good. Hey, who is out of position at the moment? Termo still hasn't set a lap, so that's very peculiar. He's got only one more chance to do so, because otherwise, if he doesn't get out of the pits now, he's not going to have enough time. Here's Rhodey. He also hasn't set a lap yet as he comes through to Lisboa. Let's stick with Rhodey for the moment, as it looks... Actually, I'm going to leave Rhodey, because, as we've got a disqualification for Brian Walsh. I wonder why that is. We'll have to get Walshy in the server, in the broadcast, to maybe answer one or two questions about that when we can. But I wanted to leave those so that way we could go up to the front to see Steve Bulger and Will Devonish. So these are the two fastest guys in the server so far. And this is where the battle for pole position is likely to be. Little tag on the wall for Bulger. We'll see what happens to Will. It looks like he got super close, but did a very nice job not to make contact with the wall there. Into Lisboa for Bulger. Not quite making the apex. It's very difficult to get the braking right there. You're kind of going from VMAX to a very slow corner. So if you miss the braking point by 1 or 2 meters, you really blow it out when you get to the apex. Just coming up San Francisco Hill and into Maternity. And Bulger's just a 10th away from his personal best. We'll see if we can get that time from Will, and he's up half a second on his personal best, and importantly, only 2/10 away from the pole time. This is where the Class B car should be a little better. It's a little more nimble, doesn't quite have the overriding power that the Class A car has. Jump back up to Bulger here as he comes through through the S's, up through Payol. Looking very smooth though in that 917. Into Police. Looked to be narrow on entry there. Didn't quite get the wide run that you would like to get into this corner. And then up through Moorish. Moorish on the throttle pedal for him, and he's up by 5 thousandths. Very good job from him. But Devonish is up by 3 tenths. A great run from Devonish here. He's up 6 tenths on his best lap time in that sector alone. So this is where the prize is. This is where the battle for pole is as we come through Macau. Slowest corner on the track, of course. Bulger does well to get his car positioned through here. And he should gain a little bit of time back here. You can really stretch the legs of the Class A car through here as Devonish chases behind. Devonish isn't close enough to get any advantage of the slipstream either, so this will be a good chance for Bulger to gain some time back. Smooth through Fisherman's, but not quite as smooth as Devonish. This could go a Class B pole position here. Through the final corner on the lap. Bulger does much better this time around. Maybe a little slow at the apex, just making sure he got out of it. Devonish looked much, much better. This could be a Devonish pole position. Bulger doesn't improve. Will Devonish for pole. Goes to first, a 40.68. Well done. Devonish did say to me before the race started, before the qualifying started, that he was looking for an overall victory tonight, and he's certainly gone very well in his endeavors there. Remember that Bulger does have a little bit more weight. He's got 20 kilos on his car for winning both race weekends so far, whereas Devonish, after a tight race at Monde, he doesn't have the burden of an extra few kilos. In that as well, we've missed Cracker setting a lap. He's gone into third. Burke has sat in fourth. Scott Morrell takes Class C pole provisionally at the minute. Higginson and Rutledge. It's going to be tight if Rutledge can get another lap in here. It'll be very, very close. Actually, with a minute left, he should be fine. We'll keep track of where Rutledge is. Rhodey has made his way into 9th. We'll just see how he's going on this lap. He set a personal best in the first sector, but not quite as impressive as some of the other Class B cars around him. Another personal best in the second sector. With a lap like this, he's hot on the tail of Matt Cecil for 8th position. And Termo hasn't gotten out and set a lap, so that is interesting. Termo is going to be starting from the back of the grid at race 1. Well, not as far down the back of the grid as Mike Coulston and Brian Walsh, who peculiarly got disqualified from the session. So we'll have to tie off that loose end. This is Rhodey still coming into Fisherman's. He will not get another lap in. This will be his last lap, it looks like. Because there's a fair run to the line for him once he gets through this final corner. And there's the time up anyway. So Rhodey will be the last one, first of the last. The first one to set his last lap. And he's just gonna... He does well. 2 seconds quicker on his personal best. Eclipses Matt Cecil. Who's next on track? It is going to be the battle for first. Steve Bulger and Will Devonish. A lot of power oversteer from Bulger there, but he made it work. These are the only 2 cars on... Or these are 2 of the only 4 cars on track. As Bulger goes back to the top. A 240, and Devonish can't match him. So it's a 240 from 0.5 from Bulger, and he does set pole position for Class A. Devonish was oh so close, but oh so far in the end. The last 2 cars on track are Manuel Centino and Cam Rutledge. So we'll just see Manuel Centino. This is the Wildcat 906. Coming through the final corner now. Beautiful sounding machine, the 906. He comes to the line. He's... Oh, it'll be very close to see whether or not he improves. And he does, by 78 thousandths of a second. So he will stay in 10th. And then the last car on track is Cam Rutledge. And he's got half a second up on his best time. And this might take him ahead of Nathan Higginson for 7th place. For 6th place, rather. So you can see up on the screen, the order at the end of qualifying is Bulger, Devonish, Cracker, Burke, Morrow, Higginson, Rutledge, Rhodey, Cecil, and Manuel Centino. Now, but with a question mark over whether or not Rutledge here can get the better of Higginson for 6th place. Looked very nice through Melco and out through the Black Sands. 2 more corners to go, and the all-important fast runs here. Very nice through Fisherman's. Not quite using all of the available road on the outside. Now through R for the final lap in qualifying. That was very nicely done from Rutledge. And he's going to come across the line. It'll be tight. It'll be very, very tight. But he's going to go ahead. Well done. Cam Rutledge, a 49.2 to end the session, going a second and a half ahead of Nathan Higginson in the end. So there's your top 10. Just to round off those who didn't set a lap, Turmo set a few sectors, so he will start in 11th place. Mike Coulston didn't set a lap. He had a qualifying ban, so he will start in 12th. And Brian Walsh was disqualified from the session for some unknown reason, so we'll try and figure out why that's happened. But in the meantime, as the drivers go through their briefing and their warm-up, we will play a little bit of a feature here. Something I put together just talking about the Ford GT40 and its legacy at Le Mans and in the World Sports Car Championship.
By the mid-1960s, the name of the game at Le Mans had become Beat Ferrari. And in 1966, there was a new, strong challenger, the Ford GT.
So we all know the story, right? We've all seen the movie. An intrepid American businessman tries to buy an exotic motoring mark, only for the grumpy old Italian man to deny him. So he goes on and builds a sports car, kicks down the Italian's home away from home, and humiliates him on the biggest stage in motorsport. There you go, that's the Ford GT40. Thanks for watching. Actually, there's a bit more to unpack about the Ford GT40. So there's a lot of nuance to the Ford versus Ferrari rivalry that defined the sports car scene of the 1960s. Henry Ford II wanted to race and wanted to win at Le Mans. The thing that was standing in his way was the Ferrari P line. It was so dominant that it had taken every single Le Mans victory from 1960 to 1965. Enzo, however, was less interested in running the production side of the Ferrari business. He was open to selling that off to another investor. And so Ford came into that. Just a quick sidebar in Enzo. He was a racer first, and he was always a racer first. He sold his sports cars, those iconic machines that we all love, as a means to an end to fund his racing. That entire brand, that entire mark, was literally just a way for Enzo to fund his racing. So Henry Ford spends many millions of dollars performing an audit on Ferrari's production facilities. He's very happy with what he sees. He writes up a contract, presents it to Ferrari. The board signs off on it. All it needs in 1963 is Enzo's signature. But Enzo notices the clause, stating that any motorsport operations for Ferrari must be approved by Ford. And Enzo goes off. He filled the room with insults using words you would not find in any dictionary, according to his secretary Franco Gozzi. At the end of his tirade, Enzo looks to Gozzi and says, "Let's get something to eat," and negotiations were over. So Ford was pissed. He wanted to crush Ferrari where they were most successful, which was on track and specifically at Le Mans. He formed an agreement with Lola, buying 2 Lola Mark 6s, which used the same Ford engine, V8 engine, that they later used in the Ford GT, plus a 1-year collaboration with the head of Lola, Eric Broadley, on the left. They were joined by John Wyer on the right of Aston Martin, and then who later went on to run the Porsche 917 program. Plus Roy Lunn, who had experience building mid-engine cars in the States, and they all got together in England to produce the first Ford GT chassis, which was unveiled in England on April 1st, 1964. They called it the Ford GT40, 40 inches being the height of the machine. He used the same 4.7 litre engine straight from the Lola Mark 6, producing 350 horsepower as a production car. The first season for the car was terrible. It debuted at the Nürburgring 1000 and retired from second place before taking 3 cars to Le Mans, all of which failed to finish. 2 gearbox failures and an engine failure, putting paid to their effort, but it did show some promising pace. After some underwhelming results, they took the program from John Wyer's hands and gave it to Carroll Shelby for the 1965 season, which started much better for Ford. They took victory in the season-opening Daytona 2000 kilometers, followed by second place at the Sebring 12 Hour. then things started to go awry. They took 5 cars to Le Mans, but it was just another disappointment, despite the introduction of the Ford GT Mark II, which featured a 7-litre engine, straight out of a NASCAR. The early lead in the race was the only consolation for Ford after their 5 cars suffered clutch problems, a gearbox failure, a pair of head gasket failures on 2 cars on the same lap, and another gearbox failure within the 3rd hour to put Ford's charge to rest. So along comes 1966, and the important thing about 1966 is finally the Mark II with the 7-litre engine is up to speed, and more importantly, it's up to reliability. Ford takes a 1-2-3 in the inaugural Daytona 24 Hours, followed by another 1-2-3 at Sebring before heading over the pond to Le Mans and finally putting an end to Ferrari's reign, taking a emphatic 1-2-3 victory at Le Mans. But let's talk about that a little later. After Le Mans, Ford developed a J car for testing an aerodynamic concept and a new honeycomb chassis, specifically for reducing weight and running at Le Mans. Unfortunately, the honeycomb chassis didn't stand up to an impact that the car suffered in testing, bursting into flames and killing the test driver Ken Miles. So the honeycomb was thrown out and they put together a brand new machine which they called the Ford GT Mark IV with a steel frame chassis which was very heavy but very secure. The heaviness of the car didn't stop it from dominating the 2 races that it ran in, the 1967 Sebring 12 Hours and the 1967 Le Mans 24 Hours. It was a comfortable win for Ford, and I say comfortable by 4 laps because the Mark IV, driven by Gurney and Foyt, was the only one of 10 Ford GTs to not run into problems. To celebrate the victory, Dan Gurney sprayed champagne on the podium, something that has become a tradition that still runs to this very day over half a century later. Gurney had this to say about his iconic celebration. What I did with the champagne was totally spontaneous. I had no idea it would start a tradition. I was beyond caring and just got caught up in the moment. It was one of those once-in-a-lifetime occasions where things just turned out perfectly. I thought this hard-fought victory needed something special. For 1968, the 7-litre Ford GT Mark IV was outlawed by displacement regulations brought into the Group 6 category, but the 5-litre Ford GT Mark I was homologated for the Group 4 entry. And this is why the Mark I car that we're using in the TCAC series sits in Group B, because it was the lower category for the regulations. The 1968 season was back under John Wyer control, and they took wins at Brands Hatch, Monza, Spa-Francorchamps, and Watkins Glen, setting up a tricky battle at the delayed Le Mans for the title of the World Sports Car Championship and Le Mans versus Porsche, who had debuted the 908 that year. In the end, it was the Ford of Pedro Rodriguez and Lucien Bianchi who took a 5-lap victory after all the Porsche 908s broke down. It took one further win in 1969 at Sebring in the lead-up to Le Mans, where Porsche already had secured the World Sports Car Championship title off the back of the 908's great running. The GT40 and the 908s were battling for second throughout the race until the leading 917 expired with just on 3 hours left. What transpired resulted in the closest finish in Le Mans history. A last lap pass by Jackie Ickx in the Ford GT40 on the Mulsanne Straight was enough to hold off the Porsche 908 of Hans Hermann at the line, becoming Ford's 4th victory in a row and only the 2nd time in history that the same chassis had won at Le Mans. The gap at the line around 120 meters. It was a successful end to the Ford GT40 program, remembered as one of the most iconic parts of Le Mans history. Yes, indeed, the Ford GT is one of the most iconic parts of Le Mans history and has become one of the most iconic parts of American motoring history as well, being the only American run and built car to win overall at Le Mans. It's also, of course, spawned a remake in 2005 as a sports car to celebrate I think it was the 70th year of Ford as a company. And then, of course, we are all familiar with the Ford GT program as there's dollies going on in the background for the GTE Pro program that ran from 2016 through to 2019 to coincide with their the 50th anniversary rather, of their win at Le Mans. Battling, of course, again with Ferrari in the GT class at Le Mans and taking victory in 2016. We're just a minute away from the end of warm-up, so the start of race 1 rather. Oh, we're getting ahead of myself already. So we'll just take a quick break here and let the field all grid up, and we'll be back with you very shortly.
More logically.
Welcome back to TCAC Le Mans Retro. We're just coming back to the... oh, no we're not. We were just about to come back to the race start, but it looks like looks like we are back into the race start. You can see the grid just popping together now. And unfortunately, I've chosen the same hotkey to switch to Automobilista as the screenshot button. So we're going to see a lot of little screenshot images in the corner. It looks like we've also picked up Luke Joyner as well in the server. And Mike Coulston has made it back in. He was just struggling to get back in as I dropped into the server just to see what was going on. Also of note, covering off what happened to Brian Walsh, he found his way up a driveway trying to do a U-turn to get back on the track. And yeah, the game disqualified him for for being in a driveway, I guess. Not sure too many residents of Macau would enjoy a purebred sports car running into their house on a Wednesday evening, but we're away for the formation lap. We've got 14 cars with us tonight, a smattering of Class A, Class B and Class C. Unfortunately only the three Class A cars, and leading us away is Steve Bulger at the head of the field and leading Class A car, the Inverted Air Racing 87-917. He took pole position from Will Devonish, who did a valiant job in the Ferrari 312P, almost taking pole position, just eclipsed on the very last lap of qualifying. He takes Class B pole, however, and will be looking for that overall victory. Just behind him is Cracker in the Wildcat 917, number 64. He was a little quiet in qualifying, didn't seem to... we missed everything that Cracker did, but sits in the third position. Lachlan Burke, and the guys have gotten in my head, and I'm trying very hard not to say Bork once again. He sits in 4th. Very impressive lap from him as well for 2nd place in Class B. Then we have the first of the Class C cars, the Matra Sim car of Scott Morrell, the 661 machine. Well done to Scott. I think this is... I'm not sure if he was at our last round of the season, so this is good to see a smattering of Matras in the field. He's joined by his teammate Cam Rutledge, who set that very last lap to eclipse Nathan Higginson for 6th. And Nathan Higginson is the last of the Class A runners. Only 3 Class A cars tonight. And he's in the Equip Higginson Engineering 00 machine, the Lola T70. No Ferraris in the field in Class A, so none of the 512s, but hopefully we'll see Luke Rosella join the field and a few of the other drivers in the 512s a bit later on. Roddy rounds out the Matra charge in the 010 machine, down in 8th place. And then it is Matt Cecil in the 2nd of the Ford GTs after Lachlan Burke. And then Manuel Santino in the 906, Porsche 906, setting the time for 10th place. And I think that is 4th in Class C. We did get joined by Luke Joyner. He didn't set a lap time, but because of the qualifying bans and other things, he manages to sit in 11th place. Mike Coulston made his way back into the server after his qualifying ban, so he is in the number 66 and has found the wall just coming through. I think that's Donna Maria, so that is a little bit of a weird one. Hopefully he hasn't suffered any damage. A little tag on the wall again on his way out. Termo didn't manage to set a lap. Not sure exactly why that was the case, but he is going to run out of 13th. And then Brian Walsh struggling through Melco. He got disqualified, as I said. He found a driveway to park his car in and it wouldn't come home. So he will start from the tail of the field. That is the 14-car field for this 20-minute race. Predicting around about 8 laps. Because, of course, it is 20 minutes plus 1 lap. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers manage tyres and fuel. Fuel shouldn't be too much of an issue. We saw at Monza that they managed to get all the way to, I think, almost 1 pit stop for some drivers. But as the field grids up, we will see 20 minutes of racing for race 1. We'll have a short interim break where we'll have another feature and then another 20 minutes for race 2. And that will be the evening's format. Oops, that is not the button I wanted to press. Neither is that one. I'll find it eventually. That'll do. The tail end of the field just gets into position. And the revs start to rise. And we're away. And it was a great start from Bulger. Look at him go. He's already pulled 3 or 4 car lengths before they even get into reservoir. And it's a bit of a madhouse behind. Devonish doesn't have the power to keep up with the other Class A cars. And it's going to be Cracker slotting into 2nd. And Higginson might even jump into 3rd here as they come through Hotel Mandarin. Going to go 3 wide here. It's going to be very tight. Higginson tags the wall. Devonish goes towards the inside. Everyone seems to get through mostly unscathed. And it's going to be a battle between Higginson, Devonish, and Lachlan Burke as well. He's trying to buy into it as they dive into Lisboa. Higginson, Devonish goes deep and tags the wall at Lisboa. He's going to be vulnerable now to Burke if he can get around the outside. It's going to be very difficult up San Francisco Hill, and he does it. Well done. Well done from Burke. He takes Class B lead, and this is very much not what Devonish was after. Looking for the overall victory was Devonish as we come through to the first sector mark. Audacious. Oh, that's a big hit there from Cecil in the wall. He's managed to escape. Oh, we've got a spin. We've got a spin from Cracker. He's spun it coming out of Teddy Yip. And he's gone all the way to the tail of the field. Let's see if we can just quickly get a replay of that one. Hugging the wall into maternity. Did nicely there. And then just on the change of direction where the track just drops away. That was enough for him to lose out. He's managed to stay ahead of a few cars, actually. I'm not sure what's going on there. but we'll have to figure that one out later, as Steve Bulger has jumped away at the head of the field. He's got Nathan Higginson with Lachlan Burke. Oh, and there's a big crash in the background. That was Matt Cecil, and there's more. There's more in the background. What's going on there? Cecil hit the wall and then was followed by Rutledge, and Walsh just arrived on the scene. We'll have a quick replay of this as well. Coming through into police, Cecil missed the braking point, hit the wall hard, and then Rutledge had nowhere to go, and Walsh had just arrived on the scene and made contact. So there's been a few incidents already at the first part of the lap. So let's have a look at where we all are. So Bulger is out ahead. He's fine. He's blitzed away. Higginson's using the power of the Class A car to maintain his position despite hitting every single wall coming up the hill. Then we've got this battle for Class B honours. Lachlan Burke and Will Devenish. Devenish not getting the start that he would have wanted and sitting now in 4th place. And we've got this great little tussle here between Morrell and the pair of 312s, Luke Joyner and Turmo. Turmo's done great to avoid all the carnage. We've got a yellow flag in this section. What's going on here? And it's Lachlan Burke. Burke's gone around. I don't know what's happened to Burke, but he's gone around at the final corner. We've got what's happened there. Hopefully it wasn't assisted, because if he has, that's going to turn Devenish's evening from bad to worse. Here we go. He's hit the outside wall, and it's just pivoted across to the inside, and he's ended up facing backwards on the inside of the circuit. So that releases Will Devenish now in the Class B lead, and kind of relegates. Oh, we've got a car over in the background. We've got a car over in the background. It was Matt Cecil. He's done. Oh, he's just been avoided by Manuel Centino. He's done a Lawrence Van Tour through Reservoir. Let's have a look. He's gone very wide at Reservoir. Oh, and it's... What's happened there? It's hit a crease in the wall and just tipped him over. What a wild sequence of events. All means nothing to this man, though. Steve Bulger already with a 4-second lead. Oh, no, he's not. He's dropped down to 3rd. No, he hasn't, because he's definitely ahead. Oh, we encountered this at Monde. It looks like he's just missed the timing marker, and he's dropping down the order, but not actually dropping down the order. He's very clearly still ahead of the rest of the field. Oh, I just need to get my breath back after the crazy opening minutes. So let's have a look at where we are. Will Devenish is currently listed as the leader, but that's not the case. It'll switch back to Steve Bulger once Bulger goes through the 2nd sector mark, just on the entry to Donna Maria. And there it goes. So we'll jump up with Steve Bulger now. Coming through Donna Maria, one of the coolest corners on the track. A little kinked entry into this sweeping left-hander. Through the short chute and now into Melco. We'll just hold the camera. Oh, that's not the right button. Neither is that. There it is. There's the Belco camera. So there's Will Devenish. There's Nathan Higginson as Devenish drops off the other end. A little bit of a gap now before the next group. There is Turmo and then Scott Morrell, Luke Joyner, Lachlan Burke, Rhodey. He's done well to maintain position. Cracker's there. And then there's a little bit of a gap. There's Brian Walsh and Cam Rutledge, Mike Coulston. These are the guys who've all had problems to begin with. We should see Manuel Centino in a few seconds. And in fact, there he is. And we're just going to leave this shot now and jump back up to the head of the field. So the gap now is 4 seconds between Devenish and Bulger. In fact, it's almost 5. So that's 5 minutes down to the race, and Devenish has got 5 seconds that he's got to claw back. But he did, no, it was Bulger who very clearly set, no, it was Devenish. Devenish set the fastest lap of the race, a 2:41.5. So he took a second out of Bulger that lap. So this is very clearly going to come down very quickly. Higginson's done well to jump up 4 positions to jump into 3rd. Now it's a matter of whether or not he can avoid incident to maintain that position. There's a lock-up for Devenish, and he manages to stay out of the wall at Lisboa. Turmo up 9 spots from the tail of the field. He's done extremely well to stay out of the carnage. Looking very pretty in that MHRT Brian Harvey panel repair 312. Class C lead is Scott Morrell. He's done well to stay out of trouble as well, maintaining his 5th position. Then we've got a little bit of a battle here. The recovering Lachlan Burke versus Luke Joyner. coming up San Francisco Hill. Not really a passing opportunity, you would think, and Burke has to slot in behind as they go through maternity. Hugging the wall to the left, it's only a tenth of a second. Burke is all over the back of that Ferrari like a bad smell as they hit the bump on the exit of maternity and come through Teddy Yip. Cracker's jumping onto the tail of this battle as well. It looks like Joyner is slowing everyone up, and Burke's gone very nicely, and he's actually made the move through the S's. Well done there. Managed to just find an open passage to clip through on the inside of Luke Joyner, who just hits the wall as they come in through police. Sorry, that's Payol. An update on the battle up the front. Will Devonish, rather, has put in a brand new fastest middle sector as Cracker now gets through on Luke Joyner, coming through Moorish. Now the double left-hander at Donna Maria. And Joyner's dropping down the order a bit. He seemed to get the initial jump as everyone else ran into problems, but hasn't been able to maintain it, unfortunately. Whereas Burke, on the other hand, seems to have a little bit of pace behind him. Looks like we've lost Steve Bulger again, but that should rectify himself as Bulger comes across the line in a moment. And there he goes. So we'll just go back up to that battle just to see where it is at. And it's 5 seconds again. So Devonish he actually lost a little bit of time that lap around. Bulger managed to just bring a little bit of that pace back. So we'll keep you abreast of how that gap develops over the course of the race. Higginson's doing very well. He clearly hasn't got the same pace as the front two, but he's holding a very nice third place at the moment, and is going to come under attention from Turmo fairly shortly. Actually, Higginson's the third fastest driver on track, so having that clear space to maneuver in has allowed Higginson to find a little bit of pace that he maybe was lacking in qualifying. Oh, and that's not going to help though, as he goes off at Lisboa. Just caught too much of the curb on the entry and spins it around. So that's going to put pay to his challenge for third, and Turmo goes through. Luckily for Higginson, there wasn't too many cars in close proximity, so he didn't lose any more positions, but it was unfortunate that he caught so much curb there. Something that I have learned coming from the Monde round, where we saw a few cars have difficulty returning to the circuit. Apparently it's almost impossible to flick spin these machines. They just have too much grip for the size of the car. So you can't actually spin up the wheels and do a flick spin like you would in, say, a supercar or a go-kart. So it makes it very difficult to maneuver as Higginson's bouncing off the walls again. He's pinballing through the S's. Another tag on the wall as well as he comes through the S's through the concrete. So Higginson's just got to settle here. He's just got to find a way to get back in the groove. And that's definitely not going to help. He just needs to settle, find a way back into the groove, and just get a bit of rhythm, because at the moment he's going to be under fire from Scott Morrell in short order. We'll leave this battle to go check out Cracker and Lachlan Burke. They were showing very close on the timing screens at the first sector mark, but it seems that Burke's actually managed to just clip away a little bit once again. We've got a few people in the live chat. Chris Riddell, Kiwi Chris, of course. He couldn't join us tonight, but he's watching along. Thank you for watching along, Chris. And we've got Loose Sim Network, that's Lewis Wedding, talking about the Vantor crash from 2016. Lewis, why aren't you in these cars tonight? We'd prefer to see you out there instead of talking banter in the race chat. We've got a brand new fastest lap from Steve Bulger, a 41.1. So he's found his stride, and he's managed to skip away from Will Devonish. Devonish unable to match that pace once again. We've got Rossi96 in the live chat saying Higo comfortably going 11 tenths at the moment. As we're just going to watch Cracker, because he gained a lot coming out through Black Sands and into Fisherman's. And he's making use of the power advantage that the Porsche has over the Ford GT, right on Lachlan Burke's tail. So they come through Reservoir. That's Cracker's fastest lap of the race, and he's really terrorizing the rear of the Ford GT now. Coming up to the Hotel Mandarin Oriental, and he goes around the outside and just breezes past, making use of the slipstream to great effect there, as well as the power advantage, and takes the wall on the exit once again, but that's not going to bother him too much. So Cracker now into 6th place, Lachlan Burke down into 7th, and is Cracker even going to snatch the Class C machine of Scott Morrell? No. The Matra holds on for now. And Cracker runs a little wide at Lisboa as well, and he's going to invite Burke up the inside into San Francisco Hill. They're going to run side by side up the hill. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Cracker who gets the power down better, but after an incident like that, he's going to be a little rattled. And this battle pack, 3 separate classes of car, by the way. 3 separate classes of car in this battle, so they're actually not fighting in the same battle as Burke goes through the... Did he just manage to go through the inside at Maternity? No! You can't do that. It's incredible stuff from Burke to jump back ahead of Cracker. Oh, but he's thrown it away. He's locked the wheels. They're going to go side by side again through the S's, and Burke has to back out. It was not to be Burke's backyard. It was Burke backing out, but he's still in it. No, this is all going off as they're flying through the concrete, through the S's. Cracker finally stamps some sort of authority on the move and holds onto it as they go through Payol. Almost too much to catch up on as Cracker... Oh, that was a brilliant move from Burke. Cracker ran narrow on the entry there and had to skip out wide, and Burke saw that early, shaped up for a wide entry and just arrowed the car on the inside. We're actually going to take another look at that because I think that warrants another look. So we're going to go... Oh, we're going to go back to... We're going to go on watching Lachlan Burke here. You can see Cracker on the inside, very narrow, and Burke runs it wide and then cuts back and takes the move. Well done, Burke, and he holds on to that 6th place. Now, the fact of the matter is, can he hold it once more as they come down the mountain into Fisherman's? Remember, the Class A car has a little bit more power, but has to suffer for it on the top of the hill. And Burke's got the Class C car of Scott Morrow. He goes to the inside. There's going to be 3 wide, 3 different classes of car out of Fisherman's into turn R, and they all arrange themselves in class order very nicely. Wow, that was a feisty little moment. Hard to keep up with all of that. So Morrow loses 2 positions in a straight. Cracker gains 2 positions in a straight. But we've got just over 5 minutes left of the race. That gap at the front is still just over 6 seconds. So Morrow has, Bulger rather, has done a good job of stretching that out. And we're just going to have a quick look at where everyone is in the field. Here is Bulger just coming through, I believe that is the S's now. Yep, here is Payol. Not quite, he was still on the S's. So now here is Payol. Still trying to learn the track on the fly here, as you can see. And the dip into Police. There's Will Devenish, about 6 seconds behind. Just now going into Police. Oh, what a beautiful sound that Porsche makes in the distance as we go through Moorish. Very much a crest in the road at Moorish as we go now through Donna Maria. Just a little kink to shape up, and then this long flowing left-hander. And it's a long way back to Termo, who's just found the wall on the exit of Payol now. So he has Nathan Higginson just a few seconds down the road from him as he goes through Police. There is Nathan Higginson going through Police now. And then just in the background, it's on again between Burke and Cracker. That 4GT has a lot more nimbility. Oh, it's Higginson's made a mistake, so this could become a 3-way battle in just a moment's time. So the 4GT seems to have the better power, or the better control over the top of the mountain. As Higginson go wide again, he's almost pinned it into the wall and come across the track here, and he's slotted into the middle of this battle. So it's now Cracker, Higginson, Burke for the battle for 4th place as they come through Melco. So we'd expect the 2 Class A cars to stream away here, which is going to leave Burke a little bit in the dust. just quickly to round out the field before we get too far away, there's Scott Morrell. And just behind him is Luke Joyner coming through Black Sands now. Rhodey at Melco, Cam Rutledge, his teammate, just coming into Donna Maria. There's Mike Coulston in the S's alongside Brian Walsh. And Manuel Centino a fair way down the order and making contact with the wall as well. And there's also Matt Cecil, who's a lap behind the field. We're just going to go back to this battle here because it looks like Nathan Higginson's had another little issue. He's trying to find the slipstream of Lachlan Burke as they come through Reservoir to start what will be the penultimate lap, if that makes sense. The leaders will get one more lap in after this, and then the time will run out, and then that'll be the last lap. So it'll be 9 laps that we get here at Macau. So even though the timer shows 2 minutes 30 remaining, we still have 1/3 of the race to go. Now, Higginson, he doesn't look like he's got the pace anymore. I think he did well to avoid the early carnage and not get sucked in to try and chase the leaders. But once he made that first mistake at Lisboa, he's not quite had the rhythm to get into the battles with the cars that have come through and that have passed him. Now, I want to just sit here and watch Lachlan Burke because I want to see how quickly he can get onto the tail of Nathan Higginson through the twisty stuff. Last lap around, he was 4 seconds quicker in Sector 2. So we're in Sector 2 now as we just come through through Maternity and then across the retaining wall into Teddy Yip. Higginson's doing well to hold on here as well. But we're just trying to make sure, just having a look to see how much the Ford is gaining as Higginson goes straight on at Payol. He's done that a few times here. Very difficult to break these cars apparently. Well, it's clear from Higginson's troubles that he's not quite having the braking pressure that he likes under him. Oh, and Cracker's made a mistake. Cracker's made a mistake coming out of Moorish, and that brings Burke straight back into the battle as they come through Donna Maria. Again, a massive gain in that middle sector. It was another 3 seconds. And Cracker's almost thrown it away. He's made contact with the wall again. And as we emerge through the concrete jungle, it is Lachlan Burke who's back into 4th place. Well then, so 3rd verse, same as the first, perhaps. We'll see as the Class A cars maybe get a bit more power down. Just quickly, it looks like Will Devonish has made a mistake because the gap at the front is blown out to 15 seconds. You can just see on the timing marker there as Higginson goes fishing for fishies out at Fisherman's. He will have Scott Morrell for company in short order. So it doesn't quite look like Cracker has the pace, and he's certainly not going to be helped with accidents like that. But we are now on the penultimate lap, so 7 seconds left on the clock as these guys come through to start their penultimate lap. And with the time up, it will be +1 lap as well, so we'll have one more lap after this. Cracker's looking very racy in the Porsche as they come through Oriental. Both make a little bit of contact with the outside wall. But it looks like Burke's done enough to hold on to this position for now. Actually, we'll just jump to the back here. Scott Morrell is chasing the slipstream of that Lola T70. Just trying to find any scrap of benefit that he can coming through Lisboa corner. Now, this will be an interesting little battle here to see how the Class C car, the much more nimble but slightly underpowered cars, can do through the slower section of the track. We're just coming up to the first sector mark now, and there it is. 1.2 seconds is the gap between the pair of these cars, and Higginson hits the wall again at Maternity. And we've got Rossi commenting on my mouthful of fishing for fishies at Fisherman's. I made comments on last lap around. Thank you, Rossi. Shame that you're not out here, as Morrell's right on the tail of the Higginson Lola now, coming through the S's and up through Payol. And Higginson's knocked the wall again, and he's dragged Morrell with him. So Higginson having trouble at those corners is actually sucking in the car behind to make those same mistakes. You kind of get, it's a kind of a compound thing. Once one person runs wide, the next person runs a little wider, and so on and so forth. So Higginson is forcing Morrow here to be a bit crafty. We'll actually just jump ahead because it looks like, oh, I was about to say it looks like Burke's lost that position to Cracker, but it was just a trick of the camera angle there. So this is the closest battle on track. Not for a true position here, as Higginson drags the front brake all the way through Melco. All of these classes are scored individually, so despite the fact that there are overall honours and 3 different classes on track, they're effectively racing in their own little races. Oh, a big lock-up for Higginson again. It looks like the fronts are just dead on that car. And he's not being able to get any sort of power advantage. Or, sorry, he's not going to make use of the power advantage as he's having trouble to reach the corners. A little smoother through R this time, but he's not as smooth as Morrow. In fact, he hits the wall. Morrow makes contact with him as well because he had nowhere to go. So now they're side by side coming across the line. Now this is going to be the last lap of the race. So we'll see if we can actually catch... Oh, they're already passed through through Lisboa. We'll catch Bulger just at the very end because we want to keep an eye on how this plays out. Pride on the line here, says Rossi in the chat, as it's Morrow versus Higginson. And through Oriental, Higginson makes a meal of it and actually has to slot in behind. So it was a Class C car here, taking position from a Class A machine. Now, you would expect, as we get into the tighter parts of the track very shortly, that the Class C machine of Scott Morrell should jump away a little bit. So while that plays out, we will just jump back up to our race leader, coming in towards Melco. He's been effectively flawless here in the first race this evening. Hasn't put a foot wrong and sets the fastest lap as well to go with it earlier on in the race. Very impressive drive from Steve Bulger. He'll take home yet another victory in the Automobilista Sim Racing. Let me try that one again. Australasian Sim Racing TCAC Retro Le Mans Minis coming through for the final time in race 1. And Steve Bulger takes another victory to go with his win at Monza and 1 win at Interlagos. A cracking victory for him in 24 minutes. Class B honours will go the way of Will Devonish. You can just see in the background Manuel Santino, who's just gone a lap down. He said he wanted an overall win tonight, but it did not pan out that way for him, especially off the line. Did well to fight his way back to second place for Will Devonish. Congratulations. Third place is on between Lachlan Borg, and it actually looks like in the background there, that's Termo, who's gotten past Cracker for 4th. I'm not sure where that's happened. I'm not sure if Cracker's made a mistake. It doesn't look like a particularly slow second sector for Cracker, but he's actually dropped down to 4th. But he's got the slipstream, and he's actually gone back up into... dropped from 4th to 5th. But he's run wide at the last corner. Lachlan Burke takes 3rd. And it's going to be Cracker just at the line, is it? Is there going to be room for Termo to squeeze past? Not quite. Cracker does well to take 4th. Termo up 8 spots into 5th. And then Class C honours will go the way of Scott Morrell. Nicely run drive for the ERMA Matra. Well done, Scott. Luke Joyner up 4 positions after missing qualifying into 7th. Nathan Higginson unfortunately couldn't hold on to his good start where he was as high as 3rd. He finishes down in 8th. Rody will come through and finish 9th in the 3rd of the Class C... No, 2nd of the Class C cars. Well done, Rody. That's good points for the Class C Championship, which he's definitely in the mix for. And here is Cam Rutledge, and he's got Mike Coulston. That's a close battle. That's closed up very nicely. But will there be enough time for Coulston to make the move that he needs. To come through Fisherman's for the last time in race 1. Doesn't quite look like the Chevron has the power that it needs to overrun the Matra. And so it'll be Cam Rutledge who goes into 10th place, rounds out the top 10. And then Mike Coulston, who sits in 11th. We saw Manuel Centino cross the line. He was a lap down in 13th. Matt Cecil down in 14th. And Brian Walsh has finished and he is in 12th. Also a lap down. Seems to have got some little bit of weird, funky timing, but we'll sort that out later on. But we do have the class winners in the booth with me. We'll start off with Steve Bulger. Steve jumped from the line perfectly to take that whole shot, and you were never troubled. Congratulations. Oh, sorry, Steve. I'm just going to actually turn you on so that way the room can hear you. Do you want to... Yeah, perfect race for you.
Yeah, mate. Very good.
Sorry about that. I had you muted on stream. How are you enjoying driving this track? It's certainly a different challenge to, say, Monza from last fortnight.
Hugely different from Monza. It's really good if you get in a groove, but you lock up the fronts and you're in the wall. So it's a nice little challenge, but you got to be in the rhythm.
And once you got out in front, were you able to find that rhythm quite nicely? It looked like you did. You set a very fast lap in the middle there.
Yeah, it was good. It's pretty cruisy. I think, as I was trying to say when I was muted, I don't think I could live it down if Will beat me from a Class B.
Oh, okay. Well, is that a challenge? We got Will in here. Will, is that a challenge?
If I can get it off the start, it might be.
Thanks, Steve. Congratulations on your Class A victory. Will, let's talk about that start. What happened there? Because it really hamstrung you heading into the first quarter.
Yeah, I thought it was actually half decent, but then everyone else got a far better start than I did. So that killed me. And then having to get past everyone again. I was really setting out to try and catch Bulger, and I think if I didn't have an issue mid-race, towards the end it would have been pretty close.
I noticed that you dropped something around 9-10 seconds in the middle of the race there. Can you fill us in on what happened?
It was the right-hander off the main front straight.
At Lisboa?
I clipped the inside curb too much and it tipped the car up too much and it sort of spun around. Yeah, we saw a similar thing happen to Nathan Higginson. So you've laid down the gauntlet. You want an overall win. What can you do for race 2 that's going to deliver that for you? I guess just try and start a bit better.
Okay.
And hope for a mistake up front.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be very difficult for you to get that start because, of course, the Class A cars are going to have that power advantage. But best of luck. Hope you get it off the line and hope you give us a great battle for the overall win.
Thank you.
And the Class C victory went the way of Scott Morrell. Scott, congratulations. That was a very calm and collected win from you.
Yeah, it helps when the car's nice and slow. Can't get myself into too much trouble. But I will translate there for Will. Will choked. For Will to win, he needs to not choke.
Brilliant. Love to hear it. You got involved in a bit of battling with some of the higher class cars. Take us through that moment where it was Lachlan Burke on the left side and Cracker on the right side as you're coming into the final corner.
I seen him coming and I was like, I better move over. And I look in the other mirror and then all of a sudden I look back in the left mirror and there's just Lachlan right in there. And where'd you come from? So, yeah, gave him a bit of room. They pulled me along a little bit, but not quite enough.
Yeah, fair enough. It looked like a pretty sketchy moment, but everyone seemed to get out all right. 6th place overall. Do you reckon you can stretch for a little bit of a better overall result for the next race?
Yeah, I'm going to aim for the top 5.
Awesome. I hope you achieve that. Congratulations on your Class C victory.
Thank you. I'll just aim on Will choking again. I should have P5 in the bag.
Brilliant. So that was race 1. We'll take a little bit of a break between races now as the field gets itself ready for race 2. In the meantime, enjoy this little feature on the Le Mans 1966 event. So, here's a quick recap on where we are. Ferrari, the dominant force of the 1960s, backed out of a deal for Ford to buy them at the 11th hour. So Ford vows to defeat comprehensive forms. Ford brings even more cars and fails comprehensively in 1965, where Ferrari wins. Enter 1966. So Ford, under Carroll Shelby, had committed to the GT40 Mark II, featuring the 427 cubic centimetre or 7-litre NASCAR engine, producing 475 brake horsepower. The year started promisingly for them, with Ken Miles and Lloyd Ruby taking the inaugural 24 Hours of Daytona, followed immediately by the 12 Hours of Sebring. Ferrari were back as well, with a brand new 330 P3 as their challenger. The Ferrari took victory at Monza in the hands of John Surtees and Mike Parks, as well as taking victories with the lower classes of cars at the Nürburgring and at the Targa Florio. The first on-track meeting of the P3 and the Mark II was at the 1,000 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps and went the way of Ferrari. Parks joined by Ludovico Scalfiotti a lap ahead of Whitmore and Gardner in the Mark II piloted by Alan Mann Racing. Then we come to Le Mans. Ford was bullish in his pursuit, entering 15 Mark IIs for the race, of which 8 were accepted by the ACO. 3 factory cars of Gurney, Grant, Hulme, Miles and McLaren Amon, 3 Holman and Moody, a NASCAR team also built by Shelby, with Donoghue, Hawkins, Bucknam, Hutchinson and Bianchi Andretti behind the wheel, and 2 more cars for British team Alan Mann Racing. Ferrari, on the other hand, brought only 3 330 P3s, upgraded to 420 brake horsepower from the P2 engine. There were 2 works cars for John Surtees and Ludovico Scarfiotti, and Bardini and Goucher, and an open cockpit NART run car for Pedro Rodriguez and Ginter. The supporting cast in the 1966 Le Mans were 6 Ford GT Mark 1s and a smattering of Ferrari P2 machines as well. The Fords were fastest in testing, with the experimental J car at the hands of Chris Amon setting the fastest lap. But when it came to qualifying, it was Dan Gurney who set pole with a 3 minutes 30 second lap, 3 seconds quicker than Ginter in the fastest of the Ferraris, who could only manage 5th. Dramatically, Ferrari's best driver, John Surtees, walked out on the team the morning of the race. Surtees was meant to be starting the race and acting as the rabbit, the one to chase the faster Fords and push them as far as they could go. But with the Fiat chairman Gianni Agnelli at the race, the team offered Scarfiotti, his nephew, the chance to start the race. Surtees quit on the spot, with Mike Parks taking his place in the team. The honorary starter was Henry Ford II in a fitting moment for him and his team as the rain greeted the dropping of the green flag. Ford held on to the top 4 at the beginning of the first lap, but Miles, who was meant to be the rabbit for the Ford team, broke his door with contact on lap 1, but by 8 p.m. he was back in first place. At that point, only the Fords of Miles and Hume and Gurney and Grant, plus the NART Ferrari of Rodriguez and Ginter, were on the lead lap. The drizzle that turned into a deluge kept the Ferraris in the hunt, as the Ford couldn't maximise their power advantage in the sloshy conditions. So much so that come nightfall, Ginter had put the NART Ferrari in the lead, with Parks in the works machine in second place. Miles and Gurney were on the same lap, chasing hard. As the rain cleared, the Fords again took the lead before another shower saw the advantage swing back to Ferrari. But not for long. Goucher in the factory Ferrari P3 spun in the S's before being cleaned up by a Porsche. The next 2 cars on the scene collided in avoidance before Scarfiotti in the other factory Ferrari arrived and cleaned up one of the stranded cars. This destroyed both factory-backed Ferrari 330 P3s in a single incident in the middle of the night. That meant that the remaining Ferrari challenge fell on the shoulders of the NART machine, but that could only last until 3 a.m. before a broken gearbox brought their retirement. So Ford had done it, with half the race still remaining. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The Gurney Grant car expired from the lead after battling with the Miles car against team orders, blowing a head gasket, as well as all of the Mark I machines that were insurance to the Mark II's challenge, suffering problems. It was a Mark II 1, 2, 3 for Ford, but there were still nerves into the finish. Once it became clear that the Fords had outlasted the competition, Leo Beebe, the Ford racing director, attempted to organise a dead heat, giving both Ken Miles and Bruce McLaren the victory. Miles was instructed to slow down to allow McLaren to catch up, and as the rain started to pour again, they approached the line to take a famous, or infamous, victory for Ford. There's plenty of conjecture as to what happened at the line. McLaren crossed the line clearly ahead of Miles, whether that be because Miles slowed down in a personal protest, or because McLaren sped up to take victory. The ACO ruled that as the McLaren Amon car had covered more distance in 24 hours, starting 2 grid slots further down from the number 1 Miles Hume car, the number 2 would be declared the victors. And that's the official results as they stand still today. An all-New Zealand lineup took an American car designed by the British minds to victory on French soil against an Italian challenge and started a legacy of the Ford GT at Le Mans that lasted another 4 years. And that was the story of Le Mans 66. Of course, one of the more famous stories that have been told in the modern era, thanks to the Ford versus Ferrari movie, or Le Mans 66, depending on wherever you are in the world. It is one of the classic stories at Le Mans. And as a little tidbit that I didn't include in that feature, unfortunately, Ken Miles, who was the driver of the number 1 car, who was effectively robbed of that victory by team orders. Miles had actually been given the chance that year to win the Endurance Triple Crown, the Daytona 24 Hours, the inaugural Daytona 24 Hours, the Sebring 12 Hours, and then the Le Mans 24 Hours. But with that faux pas at Le Mans, he was not able to achieve that. And as it happened, we made mention in the GT40 feature earlier on, he was killed in a testing accident 8 weeks after the Le Mans race. So one of the sadder, more unjust stories of Le Mans history is the story of Ken Miles. Tonight, though, we are at Macau, at the Macau Julia circuit. 6.115 kilometers. Cars have been lapping it in around 2 minutes and 40 seconds to 2 minutes and 50 seconds, depending on what class you are and how skilled you are at manhandling one of these minis around. We are all set for race 2. They're just about to advance to the grid very shortly. Track features, of course, a very long, straight, and flat first sector for coming back up the hill at San Francisco Hill into the left-right sequence at Maternity, then following the concrete walls through Teddy Yip, the Solitude S's into Payol, and then into a very difficult cresting off-camber right-hander at Police, followed by another cresting off-camber right-hander at Moorish, through the sweeping Donna Maria corners into the slowest corner on track, Melco, back through Black Sands, down to Fisherman's, and then a long run to the final corner on the track before crossing the line. Cars are back on track, and we are almost ready to go for race 2. Just getting the final slots on the grid formed up, and as it turns out, it is not a random grid, it is a progressive grid. So I was right in that assumption right at the top of the show. If you're watching, please leave a comment in the live chat. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching from Australia, if you're watching from the Australasian Sim Racing Network, always a pleasure to have drivers, other commentators, admins, mod makers, as Higginson does a great job of peeling off the line. Mod makers, livery makers, always good to have the community supporting each other. If you're watching from elsewhere in the world, firstly, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on Endurance Chat Media, as it looks like we may have just lost our... Oh, there he comes back, Luke Joyner. Not sure what happened there. We'll just have a quick peek. I think... Oh, no, we've gone to red flag, so I'm not sure what's happened, but we'll go back to the track information screen. If you are watching from elsewhere in the world, let us know where you found us from and where you're watching from, and it'd be great to hear from you. We've got a few people coming saying Australia. That's DL Racing, Dane Liccardo, Lucim Network, watching from the Democratic People's Republic of Victoria. Okay, right on. Tim Redmond in the chat says, "Go Hounds." Why isn't Hans driving these cars? Hans would be perfectly suited to these cars. Of course, if you've not encountered Mr. Brunswick, he's one of the drivers who races a few Automobile Australasia sim racing. We've got Rossi from up in Queensland as well. Dane would be joining us tonight. However, he's suffered a wrist injury. What did you do to yourself, Dane? You crashed your bike, did you? Let's have a quick look, see if we can find if Dane ever told us what he did. He stacked a dirt bike. I thought that was something that only little kiddies did, but actually, no, that's on brand. For Dane, it looks like we're just struggling a bit to clean out the server problems. So we're just trying to figure out what's happening here. They've restarted the warm-up, and here we go. We are back ready to go racing. So we'll bring us back to the right screen, perhaps, maybe. There we go. We're just watching the cars jump out of the garage back on track. We've got Luke Joyner watching from Macau, watching from the driving seat. Good to see you in the comments, Luke. Don't look at the comments too hard. We don't want you to miss the start of the race. Starting Luke is in 7th. Yoda I just became. Now I've started an argument in the live chat over what constitutes a stack or a crash in when riding a dirt bike. I apologize for nothing. Least of all, ribbing into Dane. And it looks like we have almost the full grid out on the field. And away we go for the warm-up lap. So, just like it was in the first race, it is Steve Bulger leading us away. He took a convincing victory in race 1. Take Class A honours and overall honours. Someone who will be chasing him for the overall is the Class B machine of Will Devonish. He said before the show tonight that he wanted to take an overall win tonight, and so he has only one more opportunity to do so. Here we'll have Lachlan Burke for company. Burke putting in some great laps through the middle of the race and finding his way into 3rd. Hopefully see him mixing it up in the front for race 2. Cracker managed to out-slipstream the blue Ferrari behind him to take 4th place in the dying stages of race 2. He will start, of course, from 4th. There's Termo, a cracking run through the field. Started down outside the top 10 after missing qualifying. Finished the race in 5th. So well done to Termo. Hopefully he can use that as a springboard to a bit further up the field in the race 2. Scott Morrow is the Class C leader. He starts off of 6th. A great race for Morrow. A quiet race for him. Didn't really get involved in too much, except for a hairy moment coming down the back straight from Fisherman's, where he was passed on both sides by faster class cars. Luke Joyner from 7th, telling us that in the live chat that driving and texting is not a good idea, demonstrating that for us firsthand by driving straight to the wall, or as if on cue. Thanks, Luke. Nathan Higginson is the last of the Class A cars, starting from 8th. He started from a similar position in race 1 and found himself 3rd by the end of Lisboa. So he has the capability to jump up the order. Just hopefully he's able to keep it there for the second race. Rody is coming out of 9th in the Matra 650S for EMA Sud. Quiet race from Rody down the back of the field. And then we have another Class C car, Cam Rutledge. He was engaged in battle right up to the very end of the race with the last of the Class C cars, Mike Coulston. Not the last of the Class C cars, sorry. The first and the last of the Chevrons. The Saudi Camel starting from 11th in race 2. Brian Walsh is starting from 12th place on the grid in race 2. And he'll have Manuel Centino just behind him. Manuel apparently had a few problems with his wheel with the Porsche finding the wall in places where it probably shouldn't have through that race. And then we finally have Matt Cecil, who dramatically ended up on his roof through reservoir on lap 2 of the last race. So hopefully he's able to do survive a little longer for race 2. We saw 9 laps last race around. We'll probably see 9 laps again. Steve Bulger crossing the line with a good solid 40 seconds remaining on the clock to start lap 8, giving us a 9-lap race last time around. So 24 minutes of racing approximately for you coming up momentarily. Remember the 3 classes: Class A designated by blue lights, Class B by yellow lights, and Class C with the green lights as they make their way to the grid for race 2 this evening. A few drivers just trying to do their final tyre warm-ups as they come up to the line. And Devonish taking it very slowly up to the line. Very slowly indeed. Really backing up the field as they all get settled for race start. You hear the horns in the background as the waves rise up, and we're away. Now we're away. Jumped the gun there myself. And Devonish goes nowhere. Devonish goes absolutely nowhere once again. And that's must be an issue of some kind, because he's gone nowhere and he's ceded position to the entire field. It's Lachlan Burke fighting for second with Cracker as the Class A car, and they come through towards the Oriental for the first time this race. Unsurprisingly, the Class A cars step away from the field just a little bit. Oh no, we've got a crash. We've got a big crash. It's Luke Joyner. Luke Joyner's hit the outside wall and speared across to the inside. Let's quickly catch a replay of it while we can. Just speed it up through, see if there was any contact on the inside. No, he just ran wide, and then it was a classic. It's like hitting the wall at turn 8 at Adelaide. So him and his teammate now down the back of the field, and they're going to be fighting their way through the field this time around. There's a bit of conjecture coming up through San Francisco Hill, but at the front it is much closer this time around. Bulger didn't quite get away as much as he would have wanted this time, and he's got Cracker and Burke for company, and Turmo lurking just behind as they come through the concrete wall at whereabouts are we? Teddy Yip for the first time. Much more aggressive squabble at the head of the field. We've got a few people in the live chat saying that Joyner should stop texting. Oh, we got a crash here. That was Cracker and Burke. They almost drove each other off the road. But that's actually opened up the door for Turmo to swing through. On the outside, heading into police. Clamps down. Oh, Cracker's gone around. Cracker's gone around, and that's let Joyner through. The whole field's going to file through. He's got nowhere to go. Right, Matt Cecil almost... that was Brian Walsh almost hitting him. Lachlan Burke stopped. So that, to me, suggests that there was some contact there. So let's have a quick look and see if we can see what happened to Cracker. So he may have just got the tiniest little touch from Burke, but Burke has redressed that, and he's sitting there, and that will... and he's moved away now. So fair play from Burke. That's ruined his race, but now we've got 3 very quick steerers at the tail of the field. Will Devonish, Cracker, and Burke sitting at the tail of the field after lap 1. And they have had an absolutely torrid start to race 2 here. But what's happened here? Steve Bulger, something's happened to Bulger, because he's gone around. No, he's lost the position before Melko. He must have had a spin somewhere. We're just going to quickly just scroll back and see if we can find anything through Donna Maria. No, he looks alright. Through Moorish, he looks okay. He must have had a spin coming out of Moorish. There it is. There's the spin. So that's what happened to Bulger. Now he's down in 4th. We've got slipstreaming battles aplenty here in Class C and Class B. It's Matt Cecil, Rhodey, and Cam Rutledge engaged in a tussle. coming down towards Mandarin Oriental. And it's going to be Cecil who takes that. Oh, Rody! He's hit the wall hard and almost tipped over there. Lucky not to end up on his roof, because the Matra doesn't have a roof, so he'd be ending up on his head there. So very lucky for Rody. And he slots in behind his teammate. He's got Mike Coulston for company now, who goes a little deep at Lisboa. But straight away, look who's at the tail of this group. It's Will Devonish. I wonder what's happened at the start. We'll have to get some word from him what's happened there. But we're still waiting on Cracker and Burke. Oh, that's not going to be good for Burke to find their way through the field. But here's Turmo. He's already through Teddy Yip, heading up towards the S's. He's done very nicely on this opening nap. He's opened up a 5-second gap over Nathan Higginson, who once again has managed to avoid all the carnage, finds himself in second place. He has Steve Bulger for company though, and Bulger isn't going to be too keen on sitting behind the Lola, and especially when the Lola is doing things like that through the S's. Oh, that's actually no longer the S's, that's Payol. Now we're into police. Very smooth through there for the two of them, and it looks like we just lost whoever was behind. It's Scott Morrow. I saw him puff a smoke in the background, but I wasn't sure why. Just tapped the inside wall, and that was enough for the car to become unweighted and room to spin. So he's down to 10th. It's a matter of last man standing here, and look at this gaggle. There's 6 of them. A full half dozen coming through towards Donna Maria. Cecil runs wide. Rody gives them a tap. Devonish runs wide. Devonish has already made his way back to 4th place. It's an absolute gaggle coming through towards Melco. No one's going to be stupid enough to make a move at Melco, are they? Oh, they back up and join us around. Join us around. It was a Constantina. It was an accordion. And now he's kind of stuck because he can't flick turn the thing. It was a tap into Rody and then a tap from behind. And now Joyner is taking the long way around Melco. Unfortunate for him. His teammate is out in the lead still. And we'll just get a view of him as they come through onto the main straight. So there's Turmo. He's sitting pretty at the moment. And we'll switch to this outboard view. And it looks like that's Steve Bulger and Nathan Higginson actually will follow this as they come through Reservoir and into Oriental Mandarin. Bulger swings to the inside and gets the move done before they even get to the kink. Easy as you like for Bulge. Now, who set about chasing down Turmo? His last lap time, of course, was the lap they had the spin on. Higginson's not done with this, though. Higginson's really into it. They come into Lisboa. Hard on the anchors for the pair of them. And Bulger runs it a little wide. So, Higginson's a happy... Lisboa's a happy hunting ground for Higgo there. And takes 2nd place. So, we'll just leave these guys quickly. Will Devonish in 4th. And then this battle here, Matt Cecil, Cam Rutledge. Cecil's just pulled that up. Cam Rutledge, Rody into 7th. Scott Morrow, all 3 Matras hunting in a pack at the minute. Mike Coulston 9th. Cracker 10th. Brian Walsh 11th. Lachlan Burke still recovering after spinning Cracker early on. He's in 12th. Manuel Santino and Luke Joyner, he's in the pits. So he must have gained some damage from that moment coming through Melco. Oh, let's see more of this. So we got Matt Cecil here with Cam Rutledge, the Class B Ford GT40 Mark 1 versus the Class C Matra 650S. Ooh, a little wide there from Cecil. Didn't quite get the power down coming through the S's. There's not really any proper passing opportunities here. It's all relying on the person in front to make a mistake as Rody tags the wall, just coming through Payol. Inside line this time. Rutledge is really trying to force the issue here. Cecil takes a very defensive line through Police and now through Moorish. He's going to get wrapped up around the outside. Oh no, as Rody spins. Rody just took... Oh, and his teammate's gone off in sympathy, it looked like. A little tag in the wall for Morrow, but Rody just got the power down a little too early, and the light rear of that Matra just sent him around. So he's waiting for a break to do a 3-point turn. We'll leave him to his embarrassment, and we'll come back up the field and watch Cracker versus Morrow into Melco. Oh, wow. What a move from Morrow. Cracker just got Melko a little too narrow, and Morrow was able to just swing out wide and get the power down. But now here's the Class A car doing what it does best, and straight away it goes past. Turmo, fastest lap of the race, 2:45.8. We'll wait to see what Bulger and Higginson can do. And it looks like Bulger's back ahead of Higginson now. So we missed that in the melee. We missed that in the fracas. So Bulger now has pulled out quite a gap to chase down Turmo. It's an 8-second gap as we're about halfway through the expected time of the race. That can't be right. No, we're not. We've got 12 minutes left. We're 8 minutes in. So we're about a third of the way through. Cam Rutledge has stepped a little bit away from Matt Cecil. And then here's Lachlan Burke finally making some headway through the field. He's passed Scott Morrell. So it looks like Morrow had run out a bit of power coming through Fisherman's and through R. As the scream of the Ford GT, or actually, let's catch that battle up the front. Cecil versus Rutledge. Cecil, of course, with a bit more power, but Rutledge with a bit more nimbility. Rutledge has to tuck in behind, and they're getting monstered pretty quickly by Cracker. So this is going to be a Class B versus Class C versus Class A, as Lachlan Burke in the background takes the scenic route through Lisboa, and Cam Rutledge makes contact with the rear of the Ford GT. So it looks like Higginson's made another mistake of some description, because he's dropped now behind Will Devonish. So that's Devonish up into third place. There is the Ferrari 312. And we're just going to keep eyes on this because it's developing very quickly. Cracker's now up into fifth. Here's Matt Cecil. There's Cam Rutledge. Lachlan Burke's in the mix. And also Scott Morrell. A nice variety of engine notes here. You've got the big V8, the 5-litre V8 of the Ford GT, and then the much smaller, I think it's a 2-litre engine in the Matra, as Cecil locks the wheels going through Payol. And that's really backed everyone up. This is going to end in tears here. Rutledge has managed to find his way through. Burke's hemmed in, and they're going to go through Police. Cecil on the inside of Police once again, and Burke rounds him around the outside. Well done. That's a great move there at Police. Now, as they come through Moorish, he's consolidated it now. So he's going to be on the tail of Cam Rutledge coming into Melko. And it looked like even Scott Morrow was having a look at... Oh, Cam! Didn't quite get the right line through Donna Maria. Now they're going to go side by side here in the shoot through to Melko. And Burke comes out on top. And it looks like Cecil lost out to Scott Morrow. It was Scott Morrow as well. So a lot happening in a very short space of time between the two Fords and the two Matras there. And it looks like even Morrow might use the slipstream here to get past his teammate. Will Devonish now with the fastest lap of the race, a 42.8. So he's making headway into that gap at the lead. But this is very interesting here, coming through onto the main straight. Rutledge looks like he missed his turning point there, and Morrow just breezes past. That looked like almost a track pass on a velodrome for a team pursuit, but that one didn't. That was Matt Cecil just breaking through the pair of them there, using the superior power of the Class B car to stretch a little bit of a lead. What a sound. What a sound these Matras make. And it looks like Rutledge has got the move back on Scott Morrow. So we'll leave these squabbling Matras for a hot minute, or maybe not, as they come side by side through San Francisco Hill. Okay, that seems to resolve itself. We'll leave these guys for a hot minute. We'll just have a quick look back at the head of the field, just to get a bit of an idea of where the gaps are. So here is Turmo. He's coming through towards Police. Last lap around for Turmo was a 45.9. So a fair bit of pace, but that gap is coming down. It's coming down fairly quickly now. Steve Bulger last lap around was a 43.4, so 2 seconds last lap around. And Turmo's hit the wall. He's clipped the inside wall at Donna Maria, and that's going to bring Bulger, if he's still there, right into the mix. So there we are. We're in the same shot now. That gap was 5 seconds at the beginning of the lap. It's now less than 1. So we'll just sit at Melco here and just have a look at the cars as they come through. There's Will Devonish. So he's going to pop out the other side probably before Nathan Higginson arrives. Or do we stick with this or do we jump for the battle for the lead? We'll stick with this until we see that next group of cars, because that's going to be a very interesting little squabble. There's Higo, swinging out very wide. Actually, let's leave this and see this. This is what we want to see, a battle for the lead coming into our final corner on the track. Bulger has the inside line, just sneaks his way through, has to narrow out the entry there, but has the power to peel away. So that is Steve Bulger back at the head of the field. So we've run, starting the lap 6, we've got 6 minutes remaining. It's actually going to be close whether or not we get a full 9 laps in, because of the delay for Bulger with the spin, and of course with Devonish not getting off the line. We might actually not get a full amount of laps in. We'll see how it goes. Here's a Class C squabble. Here's in fact the squabble for the Class C lead, headed up by Scott Morrell, and he's got Cam Rutledge and Mike Coulston for company. Coulston getting the best run of the 3 out of Fisherman's, and he's going to dive from the inside to the outside, try and sweep around the outside of Scott Morrell. Oh, that's very tight there, could almost be contact, but they give each other just enough room as they come across the start-finish line. These 3 are going to be separated by less than half a second as they come through Reservoir. Very tight stuff coming through the far section of track. This slipstream here is going to be an absolute pleasure for Rutledge, who's at the tail end of this group. It's come through Oriental Mandarin. Scott goes defensive immediately. Mike jumps into his slipstream. Scott peels back out. Mike goes back out again. They're playing shifty little games here coming into Lisboa. Whoa. All ran wide there. All made contact with the wall. This is a very tasty little battle pack at the moment. Coming back up the hill. Just a quick aside on the battle for the lead. It doesn't look like Turmo's given this away. And neither has Scott Morrow, nor Cam Rutledge, and nor Mike Coulston. So the gap at the front is still less than a second overall. But we're focused on this now because this is cracking stuff. Oh, Mike Coulston just a little bit wide through Maternity there and collects the wall. So that leaves the Matras to run away a little bit through Teddy Yip. It looks like Morrell is the most settled of these 3 cars through the quicker stuff, through the tighter stuff rather. So it looks like Morrell stretched out a little bit of a lead now. So we'll just head back up the road to see Lachlan Burke, who's made his way past Cracker and into 5th place overall. He'll be looking at the rear of Nathan Higginson shortly enough, with the top 3 well ahead of the rest of the field. So here is that top 3. Steve Bulger at 2:43.5. Oops, and Will Devonish set the fastest lap of the race at 2:42.6. Now that's a fair way off from where we were last race, but remember the track gets cleaned in the interim. We were basically reset the server, so the lap times aren't quite going to be at that outright pace. Turmo set a 2:45.7 last lap around for his best lap. Oh, that was Rhodey that had just spun. We'll see if we can catch a little replay of that. Speed it up a little bit. Just another lazy little spin out of Moorish there for Rhodey. So here is Turmo and the battle for the top 3. So Turmo's dropped a little bit away from Bulger. And he'll very shortly have Will Devonish for company. Another 8/10 hacked out of that lead by the first sector mark. These guys, of course, are teammates, even if they are in different coloured cars. They're both running under the MHRT Matt Harvey Repair and Tune banner in the Ferrari 312. And they had a incredible battle to the line last time out at Monza. And we'll see whether or not we can have another incredible battle, whether or not Turmo can hold on versus Devonish. As they come through the S's, it's almost side by side in through to Police, and there is your answer. Devonish very quickly eclipsing his teammate to take the second place. Now, can Devonish crack into the battle for the lead? It is 4 seconds. Oh, as Turmo almost cleaned up his teammate there. Very close to making contact with the rear of the Ferrari as he locked the brakes heading into Donna Maria. Just quickly step back a little bit to watch Higginson versus Cracker. This is for Class A, second and third. These two a fair way away from the race lead, it should be said. They're 43 seconds away from the Class A leader. But still fighting for second and third place. Which also means second and third points, of course. This is the closest battle on track at the moment as they come through Donna Maria. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out, not only through Melco, as Higginson tried Cracker tried very hard to swoop around the apex of that corner, but through the start of the next lap. So 40 seconds, we'll just quickly take a little bit of a stock take on where everyone is at the minute. Here is your race leader. That is Steve Bulger coming into Lisboa. He has a 5-second gap over second place Will Devonish. Last lap around for Bulger, a 43.4 plays a 43.3. So that gap's not coming down as well quick as he'd like it. There is Turmo as well. He's maintaining third place after a great jump off the line and a lot of time in first. Then we have this, a great view of the Macau skyline. Have a look at that. We're just having a look. We've got that sector time up at the moment between Steve Bulger and Will Devonish, and it looks like that gap is getting bigger. There is our fourth place man. That is Lachlan Burke. Not quite able to put together the same pace as he did in race 1 as a result of turning Cracker. And then here is the battle that I was talking about, 5th and 6th. There's Cracker and Nathan Higginson. Higginson's going to dive down at Lisboa. Oh, Cracker goes wide, and there goes the move again. Oh, but Higginson hits the wall on the inside. So they're going to run. Oh, Cracker's going to take that position there. So we'll see. We might catch up with that a little later. Here is the battle for Class C honours. Scott Morrell, Mike Coulston engaged in battle at the minute. Matra versus Chevron. And, oh, he's turned. He's been turned. Oh, no. That's Scott Morrell. He's gone. That was the Class C lead that he's just thrown away there. And he's having to do a 3-point turn to get that back on track. It looked like it looked like Morrow just got a little high on the curb and started to lose the rear end. And then before you know it, the Chevron was right up his rear tailpipe. Unfortunate for Morrow. He was looking for a top 5 in race 2 tonight. Here is Matt Cecil and Manuel Centino. Battle of the Wildcats. And there is Rhodey in the last of the Matras. I've got a yellow flag just around the corner, so we'll see whether or not that's Brian Walsh. Where's Brian Walsh gone? Looks like he's going very slowly, and he's actually pulled to the inside of that last straight, but that can't be what was causing that yellow flag. Oh, so much going on. I'm so confused. It must have been Mike Coulston because he's dropped now. Oh, unless Mike feels responsible for turning Morrow, and that must be the case because he's let the redress through. In all this, we've elapsed the timer, so we're on our penultimate lap. No, we are on our last lap now. And Will Devonish set the fastest lap of the race last lap around, a 42 flat. So half a second gain back, and that gap at the front is only 3.5 seconds. It's not quite as comfortable as last race around. And if Bulger can keep it together, it should be alright. Bulger has been quick in the first sector. He has set the purple first sector last lap around. But this would be a perfect night for Bulger, despite that lazy little spin coming out of Moorish early on in the race. Gap to the front, only 3.5 seconds. This is where Will's been strong. We'll just jump on with Will and see how he's going. Actually, we'll just leave that quickly because this battle was looking tasty. What about this one? No, this one. That's what I was looking for. Class C honors. And it looks like we've got maybe a spin from Rody, or there's a cluster happening back here. Oh, it's Matt Cecil. Matt Cecil's gone around. And Melco. Oh, that's been a big incident there. Manuel Centino's just gone into the rear of Matt Cecil at Melco, and that's cramped everyone up. So a bit of a mess there for Melco. But we'll catch that later on. Still watching the Class C battle for the moment. But we will just jump to the head of the field as the leader is coming through out of Donna Maria and into Melco. The gap has come down by a full second this lap, but there are no other laps after this. So Bulger, all he has to do now, as he's got the power behind him, is make it to the line without spinning the car, and he will have sewn up a double victory for Australasian Sim Racing, TCAC Le Mans Retro. Through Fisherman's nice and easily. One more corner to negotiate. And in fact, Will Devonish has just thrown it away instead. So one more corner to negotiate for Steve Bulger. He's going to cross the line to sew up a perfect night of racing here at Macau. 2 races, 2 victories, a pole position as well. Well done, Steve Bulger. Will Devonish comes across in second, back up his second from the first race, taking Class B honours as well. Unable to make that overall victory he was looking for, but still an admirable result nonetheless. Turmo is going to come across the line in third, but again I'm going to jump. Oh, Cracker! Cracker's just gone around. So there's Cracker. He's pivoted around. He's got a little bit of space to fix it up. But I wanted to jump on to see this battle. Battle for Class C honours. Morrow versus Rutledge versus Coulston in the background as they come through Moorish. Unfortunately, there's not more of the lap remaining for these guys because it's very, very tight stuff as they come through Donna Maria for the final time. And into Melco. Thought it might be a little closer. Rutledge looks like he's just lost a little bit of that edge in the latter stages. As they file out of Black Sands down towards Fisherman's. It's really one more passing opportunity for Rutledge should he get onto the tail of that Matra. As Higginson looks like he speared straight into the wall, and there's a yellow flag there, and there is Higginson. So Higginson's dropped a few positions very late on the race. Morrow immediately goes defensive, again tries to break the toe. It's going to be a little bit to play out here. Morrow's got one corner to get through. Rutledge has got the ideal line for the final corner, but can't get the move done. So Morrow will take Class C honours. Oh, and there's a spin in the background. We'll have to catch that on replay. But Morrow takes Class C honours ahead of Cam Rutledge. It's Nathan Higginson and Mike Coulston. It might have been contact because Higginson's redressed that. Let's have a quick look. Oh, yeah, contact right at the apex there. And that put the chevron in the wall. But Higginson redressed that to go 9th. Coulston in 8th. Manuel Centino managing to get to the end. Very nicely done without too many problems. He's going to finish in 10th. There he is. And Rody comes home in 11th. And we have Matt Cecil, who was involved in a few incidents, most notably the pile-up at Melco late on in the race. He'll come home in an admirable 12th place. We have Luke Joyner, who suffered a spin on lap 1. And then almost tipped the car over himself, actually. Took a pit stop as well to repair some damage. And will come home in 13th place. And finally, Brian Walsh, who finished the lap down, rounds out your field. So there we are. That was the 2 races at Macau. And once again, we have our race winners for each of the classes in the booth. We'll start again, Class A, Steve Bulger. Congratulations, a perfect night, except for that little spin.
I think I hit every wall on the track that race. Every panel on the car was yellow, but it was made it interesting. It was good fun.
Yeah, certainly not quite as comprehensive as your first race victory. It was a bit more frantic off the start for you. You had a close battle behind, and then you just made that little mistake. What happened there?
I think I was just taking it too easy. I was just trying to cruise around the first lap a bit, and because I wasn't on it, I just made a silly error and spun into the wall.
And it turned into a bit of a recovery drive for you after that. You did well, though, popping out the lead after lap 5. A great battle between yourself and Turbo. You seem to be really enjoying these cars. You've taken home quite a few victories already.
Cars are great fun. You know, they slide around. They're a bit difficult to get pointed in the corner, but you just dance them a bit and get on the gas, and they go well.
Fantastic. Love to hear it. And congratulations on your pair of victories tonight.
It's bloody.
Second place this evening overall, and the winner of Class B was Will Devonish. A great recovery drive from you, but that's certainly not how you wanted that race to pan out.
If I'd known Bulger was going to spin the first lap, I would have actually gotten that car off the start a bit better than... To be honest, it was a bit of a challenge by Matt Cecil to stall the car 3 times and then see how far up the grid I could get. So
was that actually the challenge, to stall the car and then see how far you could get?
Yeah, stall the car. I waited 20 seconds and then set off and hope for the best, pretty much. Yeah, and everyone was sort of battling, and then Bulger had his issues, so that really put the vision goggles on, and off I went and got some fastest laps, which I was pretty happy with. And yeah, I was hoping I could make Bulger sweat in that race, and I think I did that. So yeah, mission accomplished.
Yeah, the gap was certainly much closer, especially in the latter stages of that race. Are there any other tracks that you can see on the calendar that you might try and go for an overall victory? Is there any that really strike you as a chance?
Oh, I should probably look at the calendar to see.
I've got to find the calendar myself.
Let me translate that for you there, Will. What track will you not choke at?
Oh, where's this calendar?
So we've got Sebring next up, Endurance at Sebring. Then we're at VAR Grand West, Brands Hatch GP, Imola 1972, Le Mans Bugatti, Mendig Flugplatz, which is going to be an interesting one, and then the Österreich. Any of those strike your fancy?
Probably Brands Hatch. It's got the most sort of constant turns. Anything with decent straights, I'm going to be slaughtered, but anything that's constantly turning, I might have a shot at. So let's go for Brands Hatch.
Awesome. And with this pair of race wins, you take the Class B championship lead back from your teammate. It looks like you and Turmo might have a little bit of a tussle for that championship throughout the season. It's looking very tasty.
Yeah, it's good to have the teammate up there, and good to have the team up there in the championship as well.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations on taking home a double victory in Class B tonight, Will Devonish.
Thank you.
And to complete a trio of double victories tonight, Scott Morrow. Scott, a bit of a wacky, wild race for you, but you managed to pop out on top in the end.
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting. I can tell you I had a lot more fun that race. Need to change the undies after I took Matt Cecil's car through the visor.
Yep, that was very, very tight.
Yeah, it wasn't tight. That hit very hard.
Fair enough.
Hands let go of the steering wheel. Close the eyes.
And pray. A great battle for Class C victory, though, between yourself, your teammate Cam Rutledge, and Mike Colston for a while. Yeah, just take us through the ins and outs of that.
Yeah, it was coming through, I think, the third turn, or the second decent corner. We had it coming together with me and Mikey. We weren't sure if it was me who lost it myself or got helped, or it was all Mikey. So Mikey just said, no, bugger it, I'll wait. And we had another crack at it all over again. So it's great fun racing with Mikey and whatnot, boys.
Yeah, fantastic. And it was good to see something I noticed throughout the race, a lot of good sportsmanship. There was a few incidents that people redressed calmly and collectedly and made for a good race. So, yeah, congratulations on your double victory tonight. And we'll hope to see you at the next round at Sebring.
That's if the stewards don't take that one off me for that race. I did 2 passes through the naughty corner.
Ooh.
So, yeah,
Ooh.
maybe you're getting looked at by Rody.
I'm sure our independent judiciary will have words to say throughout the race. There was a lot going on throughout that race. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, there definitely was.
Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations on your double victory, Scott.
Thanks, Folly, and thank you very much for coming in. And hurry back, Kiwi.
Yes, we will hopefully have Kiwi back very soon. But that was the pair of races this evening at Macau. We'll update everyone on the championships for the next round. We will be at Sebring for the endurance format next time out. Remember, a 50-minute race complete with pit stops for next time. That'll be in a fortnight's time, I believe. I will just double check that because I don't want to make a fool out of myself. It will be, yes, March 24th, so another Wednesday. Until then, we will see you then. Thank you very much for joining. I've been Michael Zalavari. Peace out.